The calendar control was covered briefly in Session 1 of the Essential Skills course, but the calendar control has some more advanced features that you'll use in this lesson. To begin, open the Market Trader project from your Sample Files folder. And open Market Data by Date.aspx in Design View. Now add a calendar control to the table cell just beneath Start Date. And set its ID property to Calendar Start Date. In the same way, add another calendar control just beneath Finish Date and set its ID property to Calendar Finish Date. Note that you can use the Auto Format command from the Quick Tasks menu to quickly apply attractive formats to calendar controls. This is covered in Session 1 of the Essential Skills course in this series. You can also format a calendar control manually by changing its properties. For example, you can change the way the selected date is highlighted by changing the Selected Day Style property. Now open the code behind file of Market Data by Date.aspx. And you're going to add code to the button Get Data Click Event Handler to retrieve the data from the database. Use the following code. Using data access data equals new data access grid view data dot data source equals data dot get market quotes by date calendar start date dot selected date calendar finish date dot selected date grid view data dot data bind. The selected date property contains the calendar control's currently selected date. Now you're going to add code to the page load event handler to set the default selected dates of the calendar controls. Add the following code. If not page.isPostback calendar start date dot selected date equals new date time 2011 12/1 calendar finish date dot selected date equals new date time 2011 12/31. This code sets the selected date properties of the calendar start date and calendar finish date controls to the 1st of December 2011 and the 31st of December 2011. Note that the page.isPostback property is used to ensure that this code only runs once and does not overwrite any values selected by the user. This is needed because the calendar control causes a postback whenever the user changes the date. Postback was covered in Session 3 of the Essential Skills course in this series. Now let's test your code. View Market Data by Date.aspx in your web browser. And examine the calendar controls. Although the page load event handler has set their selected date properties to December 2011, they are still showing the current month. This is because you also need to set their visible date properties. Close your web browser now and return to Visual Studio. You'll now add some code to the Page Load event handler to set the visible date properties of the calendar controls. Add the following code inside the if statement. Calendar start date dot visible date equals calendar start date dot selected date, and calendar finish date dot visible date equals calendar finish date dot selected date. Now let's test your code again. View marketdataByDate.aspx in your web browser. This time, the selected dates are displayed correctly. Note that the calendar control also contains some other useful properties. The Selection Mode property allows you to change the way dates are selected. In Day mode, the user can only select a single date, but in Day Week Month mode, selectors also appear for weeks and months. The First Day of Week property allows you to change which day the calendar control uses as the first day of the week. Close your web browser now and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 6.2. Use the calendar control.